Welcome back to my channel with Fairy Tale Mind in the Real World. Today I have another book review for you. Whoop-de-doo. Lily is up there, so she'll be up there for however long she wants to be up there, I'm sure. Maybe will probably meow outside my door again, and I apologize. On to the book. So today I'm going to be talking about a book called A Posse of Princesses, and it is by Sherwood Smith. Here's the book. I don't really like this cover. It's the same on the front and the back. Just the back doesn't have the fancy scroll work. There's a different cover on Amazon, and I prefer that a little bit more. However, this is a very interesting book. It's a really fun read, and I read it. I don't remember how I came across. I was just browsing. I like to do that. I like to just go look at the shelves and kind of see a title that catches my eye, and then I'll read the back and see if it really interests me. So this is a book about a princess who is called to attend a gathering at a royal obviously, a prince's palace, and he's basically kind of going to choose a bride, and he's inviting a bunch of princesses from around the world to come and visit him, and everyone can get to know each other and kind of see what happens. So she doesn't necessarily expect to get chosen, but she has always dreamed of a life of romance, and she loves reading ballads and, you know, things that aren't necessarily proper for a princess, but she's always known that she isn't going to inherit. So her name is Riss. It's spelled R-H-I-S, and her kingdom is small, and it doesn't necessarily have a lot of like soldiers and everything, but it's very wealthy. It has a lot of jewels, and her sister and her mother are both powerful mages, so they are wealthy and they are well protected, so people leave them alone. Not to mention they're kind of isolated up in the mountains. So Riss is really excited to get a chance to get out of her home country and go off to have an adventure. So she gets to the palace, and she finds that some of the princesses are kind of snobs. She met up with, well, it's kind of her cousin-in-law. It's her sister-in-law's sister, so sister-in-law. Is that still a sister-in-law? I'm not sure how that works. So she meets up with her, and they actually become fairly good friends, which is nice because Riss at least has one friend in the palace. So she gets there. She finds she's not necessarily like the other girls. A lot of the princesses are kind of mean, make rude comments and things like that about, especially one other princess who is actually the prince's cousin, and she doesn't speak the language very well. She has a very strong accent, and they make fun of her for that. So Riss ends up being kind to her and kind of making friends with her as well, but the crowd she kind of most gets along with is a scribe, and she doesn't really hang out with the prince and his crowd very much, where all the prettier, popular people hang out. So what happens is, basically it's kind of a gathering. How it goes, they're there, everyone interacts, you know, the snobby people and the nicer people kind of have a bit of a conflict, and everything's resolved. But in the end, what happens is there's this one prince in particular, and he decides that he likes the most beautiful girl there, who is obviously gunning for the prince, but she's kind of one of the worst ones there, so he doesn't exactly get interested. So this guy, this prince, other prince who is obsessed with the really pretty one, he decides to kidnap her, in the sense that she tells him that he can take her. So it's kind of a kidnapping, kind of not. So Riss and a couple other princesses, there's Riss, and then the friend that she made, that's her sister-in-law, kind of, sister-in-law, not sure how that works again, and then a warrior princess, and then the prince's cousin. They all go on an adventure with the warrior princess's guards to save the snobby mean princess, because they're like, well, even she doesn't deserve to get kidnapped and forced to marry, you know, someone. So they go on that journey and find out things are not necessarily all they seem. And on their journey back, Riss finds out stuff about herself. She also ended up finding out a secret about the prince right before she left, which kind of made her upset. So then she's kind of that's kind of reflective a little bit in how she reacts to, like, when he comes to, comes to save her. They didn't necessarily need saving, but, you know, he came, and they have to get away from, you know, the king, who wants to, well, actually, it's a little more complicated than that, but I don't want to spoil anything. So, yes, the ending was resolved very well. I like how it ended. It wrapped things up, and it took care of things, which was great. I don't want to spoil any more, though, so I won't go into too much detail there. I really enjoyed this book. It's not a hard read. It's pretty easy, and it's a pretty quick book. Let me double check how many pages it is. It's sort of I'd say it's like a medium-sized book. It's got 299 pages, so pretty much 300 pages. It's on the smaller end of what I usually read, I feel. Well, I guess it's like a medium-sized book, but on the smaller end of medium, if that makes sense. So it's a good read, but not too long. It's not very dense. It's really easy to read. Get into the story, and getting out of the story is really easy as well. So I highly recommend it if you like just like a simple, kind of sweet fantasy-esque. It's not like brimming with fantasy, but magic is technically in the story, so it's there. It's like just enough to give it the fantasy feel. Like, if you're having a hard time with fantasy, this might be a good book to read, because it's kind of set in a medieval type time, but there's a little bit of magic involved, but it's not like all over the place, and most of what happens is done based on their merit, not because of magic. I mean, a little bit does, but so it's a really good read. It's really fun, and the characters are all so fun, and they're all different too. They're very well done. It's easy to tell them apart. I know that sometimes with books, when there are a lot of characters all together, it can be hard to figure out who's who, but Sherwood Smith does a very good job of giving the characters distinct personalities. Even if some of them are similar, you know exactly who the characters are. So that's really nice when you're reading this kind of book, because sometimes if there's a lot of characters, you can just get overwhelmed and trying to figure out who's who, and you know who's doing what. And so I really enjoyed that about this book. It's a really good book. It's a fun read, and it's quick and easy. So I definitely recommend you check it out. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.